My coworker, Haley, had a twisted sense of humor. When my blood sugar crashed, she'd swap my emergency glucose tablets for salt pills, then film my dizzy spell for a laugh. The sunscreen she so generously offered was laced with itching powder that left my skin raw and ulcerated. During a 100-degree heat wave, she hid the office AC remote, chirping that it was all mind over matter. It all came to a head when she tricked me into a long hike in the blistering sun, emptied my water bottle and swiped my meds while I wasn't looking, and then just watched as I collapsed from heat stroke. My organs failed one by one. After I died, she posted on Facebook. Some people have zero stamina, can't even walk a few steps without getting winded. Who's to blame? LOL. When I open my eyes again, I'm back. It's the day of the first prank. The day she swapped my glucose tablets for salt pills. This time, I'm going to teach her what happens when a joke goes too far. I lurch, grabbing the wall to steady myself as a wave of familiar dizziness washes over me. Black spots dance in my vision. My limbs feel like lead, and a cold sweat instantly soaks the back of my blouse. Hypoglycemia, right on schedule. My trembling fingers fumble in my pocket, finding the familiar foil wrapper. I tear it open, practically desperate, and pop the tablet into my mouth. Salt. It's a salt pill. The realization hits me like a bucket of ice water. A shiver racks my body, and right on cue, I hear that laugh, seared into my memory. Ha ha ha, you guys, look at Sarah. She can't even stand up straight. Looks like she's totally wasted. I struggle to lift my head. Haley Vance is standing there, phone aimed right at me. A smug, triumphant smirk plastered on her face. A few coworkers nearby chuckle along with her. One or two look vaguely concerned, but no one moves to help. The scene is identical, a perfect replay of my past life. I'm back, 3 months before Haley's pranks finally killed me. Back at the very beginning of the nightmare. The bitter salt in my mouth makes me want to gag, but the sight of Haley's fake, smiling face is even more nauseating. The old me just meekly endured it, telling myself it was a harmless office joke. I let those jokes escalate, one by one, until they culminated in my death on a sun-scorched trail. Haley, I say, my voice surprisingly steady despite the vertigo. What did you give me? Her smile freezes for a fraction of a second, clearly thrown by my directness. Glucose tablets. Why? She flutters her big, innocent eyes. Sarah, are you okay? You look awful. Do I? I spit the salt pill into my palm and hold it out for her to see. Then why don't you tell me what this is? The low chatter in the office fades. A few heads pop up over cubicle walls. Curious. Haley takes half a step back, a flicker of panic in her eyes before she plasters on that phony expression of concern. Oh my gosh. I must have grabbed the wrong one. I have salt pills and glucose tablets in my purse. They look so similar. Grabbed the wrong one? I press forward. Then why did you go into my desk drawer, take my personal supply of tablets, and replace them with this? Why was your first instinct to film me instead of helping when you saw I was having an episode? My voice isn't loud, but in the now silent office, every word lands like a hammer blow. Coworkers exchange glances. A few brows furrow. Haley's face changes. She never expected me to know the details. Sarah, what are you trying to say? I was trying to be nice, and now you're blaming me. Her eyes suddenly well up with tears. I was just trying to be funny. Funny. I cut her off. You think playing with someone's health is funny? What's going on out here? Our department head, Director Mark Linden, pokes his head out of his office, his expression annoyed. Nothing, Mark, Haley says, instantly switching to a sweet, professional tone. Sarah's just feeling a little under the weather. I was just about to help her. I watch her performance, my face a cold mask. I don't expose her. Not yet. It's not time to show all my cards. Experience taught me that Mark always has Haley's back. A direct attack now would only backfire. If you're sick, go to the break room. Don't disturb everyone else. Mark grunts, before closing his door. Haley shoots me a triumphant glance. She leans in close, whispering in my ear. It was just a joke. You're not going to make a federal case out of it, are you? This is why you don't have any friends, you know. You're too sensitive. I meet her gaze, my voice flat and terrifyingly calm. You know what I hate most, Haley? Malice disguised as a joke. From now on, I say, every one of your jokes, I'm paying back, tenfold. Her pupils constrict. My new attitude has clearly shaken her. Before she can respond, I turn and walk toward the break room. I pull a reel, backup tube of glucose gel from my purse and squeeze it under my tongue. Sinking onto the break room sofa, I close my eyes and sort through my thoughts. The advantage of being reborn is knowing exactly what comes next. Haley's pranks will escalate. The itching powder in the sunscreen, the sabotaged AC, the laxatives in my coffee, and finally, the fatal hike. But this time, I won't be the silent victim. This time, Haley Vance will learn firsthand what it feels like when the joke is on you. When I get back to my desk, I see Haley sneaking a tube of sunscreen out of her drawer, a malicious little smile playing on her lips. So, joke number 2 is already in the works. I sit down without a word and boot up my computer. My mind still replaying the last moments of my previous life, the sun-warped vision, my fading consciousness, and Haley's shrill laughter echoing in my ears. Sarah, you want some sunscreen? The UV index is super high today. Haley's voice pulls me from the memory. She's standing by my cubicle, waving a white tube of sunscreen, her face a mask of harmless innocence. It looks like any other bottle of SPF 50, but I know it's been mixed with a potent itching powder. Last time, I'd applied it without a second thought, and my skin erupted in painful red welts. I had to take 2 days off work to go to the doctor, while Haley feigned sympathy. Oh no, you must be allergic to one of the ingredients. Thanks, but I brought my own, I say, pulling my own bottle from a drawer and giving it a little shake. Haley's smile falters for a beat. Oh, but this is a brand new kind. It's amazing, you have to try it. She twists open the cap and squeezes a dollop of white cream onto her finger. I stare at the cream, then suddenly grab her wrist. If it's so amazing, why aren't you wearing any? The keyboard clatter in the office seems to quiet down. In my periphery, I see a few coworkers peeking over their monitors. Haley wasn't expecting this. Her wrist trembles in my grip. I put some on this morning. Did you? I say with a cold smile, tightening my grip. Then what's the harm in a little touch-up? I start moving her hand toward her own face. What are you doing? Haley shrieks, yanking her hand back. The dollop of sunscreen flies through the air and splatters on the carpet. Her voice is unnaturally sharp, drawing more attention. I feign surprise. It was just a joke. You're not going to take it seriously, are you? Throwing her favorite line back in her face feels even better than I'd imagined. Haley's face turns beet red. She opens her mouth to say something, but she's cut off by a round of applause. Everyone, listen up. Director Mark Linden is standing in the middle of the office, clapping his hands for attention. Just got word from corporate. The Vera group project has been moved up. The pitch is next week. We're splitting into 2 teams to compete, and we'll submit the winning proposal. I'll be leading Team A. My co-lead on Team B will be Associate Director Lee. Mark announces, his eyes scanning the room. We need volunteers. I want to be on Sarah's team. Haley's hand shoots up, her voice sickeningly sweet. We have the best synergy. Synergy? Did she mean the kind where she steals my ideas and stabs me in the back? Mark nods, pleased. Excellent. Sarah Miller, Haley Vance, Kevin Smith, and Ethan Reed. You 4 are Team A. Everyone else is with Lee. He glances at me, adding, this project is critical for our second half performance. I expect everyone to give it their all. After the meeting breaks up, I head straight for the restroom. Closing the stall door, I take a deep breath in front of the mirror. You okay? A deep male voice startles me so badly I nearly jump out of my skin. I turn to see Ethan Reed from the tech department, standing in the hallway outside the restroom, keeping a polite distance. He's tall, dressed in his uniform of a black t-shirt and jeans, his hair a rumpled mess as if he just rolled out of bed. The ladies' room on this floor is out of order. Pipe burst, he explains, gesturing to a temporarily closed sign I hadn't noticed. I see the puddle of water and maintenance tools on the floor now. Last time this happened, I was in the nurse's office dealing with Haley's sunscreen disaster. I never came to this restroom, never had this encounter. Thanks for the heads up. I nod, turning to leave. That sunscreen, Ethan says suddenly, his voice low. I saw Haley adding something to it earlier. I whip my head around to look at him. His expression is placid, but his eyes are sharp. Why are you telling me this? I ask, my guard up. He shrugs. The IT department sees more than you'd think. He pauses, and the company's security system has some interesting blind spots. My heart speeds up. His words are heavy with implication, and my mind races. Thanks for the warning. I repeat, this time with genuine sincerity. Back at my desk, I find a post-it note that wasn't there before. Watch out for H. Her connection to M is more than professional. I scan the office, but no one looks my way. The handwriting on the note is so neat it looks like it was printed from a computer. My phone buzzes. It's my mom. Sweetheart, have you eaten? Her voice is warm and familiar, and it makes my nose sting. Just did, Mom. How about you and Dad? We just finished. Your father wanted me to ask if you're coming home this weekend. He bought your favorite jumbo shrimp and wants to make you his famous scampi. I bite my lip. I'll be there. I promise. My voice cracks a little. What's wrong? Trouble at work. Mom's senses are always sharp. No, nothing. I just miss you guys. I say, quickly composing myself. By the way, is Dad taking his blood pressure medication on time? Yes, don't you worry. Just focus on your work, take care of yourself, and stop ordering takeout all the time. After hanging up, I lean against the wall and take a deep breath. My family's concern is a mirror, reflecting just how alone I am in this office. No one is going to protect me but me. Across the room, Haley is leaning in close to Mark Linden's ear, the two of them sharing a laugh that's far too intimate. Mark is nearly 40, married with kids, yet he soaks up Haley's attention like a sponge. Sarah, here's the file for the Vera project, Haley says, suddenly appearing at my desk. She hands me a binder with a sugary smile. Mark wants you to handle the market analysis. He needs it by tomorrow. I open the binder. It's stuffed with a thick stack of disorganized, raw data tables. A deliberately tedious mess. Got it, I say calmly, taking the binder. I watch her walk away, a cold smile touching my lips. This time, I'm ready. When quitting time comes, I pack my things slowly, waiting for Haley to leave first. As she heads out, she gives me a helpful reminder. Don't stay too late. I hear they turn off the AC at night. It gets crazy hot. I know exactly what she's planning. Last time I worked late, and the AC suddenly died. I nearly passed out from the heat. I later found out Haley had called building security, lying that our department was empty for the night. Once I'm sure she's gone, I turn my computer back on and start sorting through the data, not to complete Mark's task, but to gather my own evidence. A light is still on in the IT department. I hesitate for a moment, then walk over. Ethan is alone, sitting in front of a monitor filled with code I can't decipher. Still here? I ask, knocking gently on the glass door. He looks up, seeming unsurprised to see me. Working late. About those security camera blind spots you mentioned. I begin, choosing my words carefully. Could you be more specific? Ethan pushes his glasses up his nose, the blue light of the monitor reflecting off the lenses. Company policy is to overwrite security footage every 7 days. But footage from certain time slots has a habit of disappearing. He looks at me meaningfully. For example, last Thursday, between 3 and 4 p.m., the footage from the 16th floor hallway. That was the exact time my glucose tablets were swapped. Is there any way to see that missing footage? I ask, my heart pounding. A faint smile plays on his lips. Theoretically, deleted data is unrecoverable. And untheoretically? Instead of answering, Ethan hands me a USB drive. Historical data for the Vera project. Might be useful. As I take the drive, I feel something small and hard pressed into my palm along with it. A micro SD card. The IT department sometimes backs up interesting files. He says, his voice barely a whisper. Be careful with it. Back at my desk, I insert the card into my laptop. It contains a single video file. When I click play, the security footage from the 16th floor hallway fills my screen. I watch as Haley slips furtively into my office, takes the box from my drawer, empties my glucose tablets, and replaces them with the salt pills. My fists clench. This is the first piece of evidence I need. Just as I'm about to close the video, a second figure appears. Mark Linden. He walks up behind Haley and wraps his arms around her waist in a familiar embrace. Haley turns and kisses him. So that's how it is. No wonder Haley acts like she owns the place. She has this kind of backing. Outside, the city is dark. The office is growing stuffy and hot, just as Haley predicted. But this time, I pull a portable fan and a gel ice pack from my bag. The morning sun streams through the office's glass walls. I'm in early, placing a small, clear bottle in my desk drawer. It's filled with a colorless liquid that looks just like toner. I open my laptop and review the evidence I compiled last night. Item 1. Salt pill swap, with the video from the microSD card attached as a backup. Item 2. Itching powder sunscreen. For now, I only have Ethan's testimony, but I need something more concrete. Morning, Sarah. Haley's voice chirps from behind me. Work late last night? You look exhausted. She leans over me, her cloying perfume giving me a headache. That's great. I have some market data I need to add. Her hand reaches for my mouse. I snap my laptop shut. It's on a flash drive. I'll send it to you later. I look up, meeting her eyes. By the way, do you still have that sunscreen from yesterday? I suddenly feel like trying it. A predatory glint flashes in Haley's eyes, like a shark smelling blood. Of course. She quickly pulls the tube from her purse. I told you, this brand is amazing. I take the bottle, pretending to study the ingredients. SPF 50+. That's pretty high. I twist the cap and squeeze a little onto my finger. You're sure this is safe? Totally, she says with conviction. I use it all the time. I nod, then suddenly grab her wrist and smear the sunscreen onto the back of her hand. Then let's use it together. What are you doing? Haley shrieks, pulling her hand back, her face instantly pale. Colleagues around the office look up. Kevin pushes his glasses up his nose. What's all the noise about so early in the morning? Nothing, I say, raising my voice. Haley was just recommending this great sunscreen, and I suggested we both use it. She doesn't seem very enthusiastic. Haley forces a smile. You just startled me. She rubs furiously at the back of her hand, but the cream is already absorbing into her skin. I watch her with cold amusement. Last time, this stuff left my arms red and swollen. So itchy I scratched them until they bled and had to get a steroid shot. Now, let's see how long she can take it. Less than 10 minutes later, Haley starts shifting uncomfortably in her seat, her left hand constantly scratching her right. Haley, you okay? I ask with feigned concern. Your hand is getting really red. The skin on her hand is already inflamed, covered in a fine rash. I'm fine. Probably a mosquito bite, she says, her smile strained, a fine sheen of sweat on her forehead. I raise my voice again. Oh no. I hope you're not allergic to the sunscreen. You just said you've used it for ages with no problem. Our coworkers cast curious glances her way. Haley looks like she's sitting on pins and needles as the rash on her hand grows more pronounced. I'm just going to the restroom, she says, grabbing her purse and fleeing her desk. Kevin leans over. What's with her? I shrug. Who knows? Maybe the sunscreen was expired. I pick up the tube. Want to try some? Haley says it's great. Kevin waves his hands frantically. No thanks. I've got sensitive skin. Haley stays in the restroom for nearly half an hour. When she returns, her hand is slathered in a thick ointment and her face is grim. She shoots me a venomous look. I return it with an innocent smile. During my lunch break, I go to a nearby pharmacy. Do you have a strong cream for contact dermatitis? I ask the pharmacist. We do, but it's steroidal. You can't use it long term, he says, pulling a tube from the shelf. I'll also take a box of extra-strength allergy pills. I add. After being tormented by Haley's pranks in my past life, these medicines became a staple in my purse. Now, I plan to give her a taste of her own medicine. When I get back to the office, there's a new post-it on my monitor. Team dinner tonight. Don't be late. Mark. I smirk. Last time at this dinner, my drink was spiked with laxatives. I spent the night running to the bathroom. It seems Haley, after her setback this morning, is eager for a rematch. Before leaving work, I quietly slip the small bottle I prepared this morning into my bag. It contains my own special concoction. A colorless, odorless, concentrated extract from several powerful laxatives. The effect is significant. The dinner is at a modern American bistro near the office. Our department of 20-something people is spread across 2 large round tables. I deliberately choose a seat near the aisle for easy maneuvering. Tonight, we celebrate the kickoff of the Vera project. Mark Linden raises his glass. And a special thanks to Team A for getting the market analysis done ahead of schedule. Everyone raises their glass. Haley is sitting next to Mark, the rash on her hand covered with foundation, though I can still see the inflammation. She keeps glancing my way, her eyes glittering with malice. The servers begin bringing out the food. Suddenly, Haley stands up. I'll get drinks for everyone, she announces, walking briskly toward the self-serve drink station in the corner. I excuse myself to go to the restroom, watching her from a distance. I see her glance around furtively, then pull a small paper packet from her purse and pour the powder into a glass of lemonade. Need a hand? I ask, suddenly appearing behind her. Ah, she jumps, nearly spilling the drink. And no, I'm good. Almost done. I look at the spiked lemonade in her hand and pretend to be casual. Oh, I love lemonade. Is that one for me? This is for Mark, she says in a panic. Then her eyes light up. Oh, right, this one is yours. She hands me a different, untainted glass. Thanks. I take the glass, and as she turns her back, I swiftly swap them. Now, the spiked lemonade is back in her hand. Returning to my seat, I sip my perfectly safe orange juice, watching Haley out of the corner of my eye. She solicitously places the special lemonade in front of Mark, but he's deep in conversation with someone from accounting and doesn't touch it. Haley, wasn't that for me? I ask, pointing to the lemonade. She frowns. But you have orange juice. I'm suddenly in the mood for lemonade. I say, reaching for the glass. She quickly blocks my hand. No, I already drank from that one. She grabs the glass and, to prove her point, chugs nearly half of it. I have to fight to keep from laughing. Thirsty, are we? For the next 20 minutes, I enjoy my meal and wait for the show to begin. Sure enough, Haley starts fidgeting, a sheen of cold sweat breaking out on her forehead. What's wrong? I ask with fake concern. Don't like the food? I'm fine, she grits out, but her face is growing paler by the second. Another 5 minutes pass. Haley abruptly shoves her chair back, the legs screeching against the floor. Excuse me, she yelps, practically sprinting toward the restroom. The table falls silent. Mark frowns. What's wrong with her? I shrug. Maybe she ate something that didn't agree with her. Over the next half hour, Haley makes no fewer than 5 trips between the table and the restroom. Her face goes from flushed to white to a sickly shade of green. The last time she returns, her legs are shaking so badly she can barely stand. I think I'm going to head home, she says weakly, grabbing her bag. Wait, I call out. Weren't we going to discuss the presentation for tomorrow? She glares at me, her eyes filled with pure hatred. Some other time, she snaps, before fleeing the restaurant. Kevin shakes his head. Must have been food poisoning. But this place has an A rating from the health department. Some people just have sensitive stomachs. I say meaningfully, finishing the last of my orange juice. After dinner, I decline my coworkers' invitations to go out for another drink and head back to the office to grab my things. The building is eerily quiet at night, lit only by the faint green glow of the exit signs. My desk has been rifled through. Although things were put back, the angles and positions are slightly off. I check my computer. The files seem untouched, but my notebook in the drawer shows signs of being flipped through. Looking for something, Haley? I whisper to myself, closing the drawer. Just as I'm about to leave, I see the light is still on in the IT department. I hesitate, then walk over and knock. Come in. Ethan's voice calls out. He's alone, sitting in front of a bank of monitors displaying code and data streams. Working late again? I ask, leaning against the doorframe. Yeah, security system upgrade, he says without looking up. I notice a few printed out security stills on his desk. One of them clearly shows Haley pouring something into a glass. What's that? I ask, pointing at the photo. He finally looks up, pushing his glasses up his nose. Restaurant security footage. Funny thing is, a camera from this angle isn't supposed to exist. I step closer, seeing the details in the photo. You hacked the restaurant system? Theoretically, that would be illegal, he says, his face impassive. Untheoretically, I was just helping them test their security vulnerabilities. I can't help but smile. Can I get a copy of these test results? Ethan hands me an envelope. Already printed them for you. I open it. Inside are not just high-resolution photos, but another USB drive. This is video evidence. The complete footage of her spiking the drink. He pauses. And of her going through your desk. My heart lurches. There are cameras in the office? Not officially, he says, his tone heavy with meaning. But there are hidden cameras in certain high-importance areas. This is a bombshell. I'd always assumed the office was a blind spot, but everything was being recorded, which meant Mark and Haley's dalliances. Can you get that footage? I ask directly. For the first time, Ethan's expression shifts. A slight frown creases his brow. Some things are better left alone. His answer only confirms my suspicion that he knows far more than he's letting on. Thank you for your help, I say, putting the envelope in my bag. But why are you helping me? He's silent for a long moment. Finally, he says, I hate bullies. Back at home, I add the day's victories to my evidence folder. Photos and testimony from the sunscreen incident. the video of her spiking the drink at dinner, the footage of her searching my desk. Each file is labeled with the date, time, and witnesses. Lying in bed, I review the day's 2 skirmishes. I'd won the battles, but Haley would not give up the war. She was humiliated tonight. She'll come back with a vengeance. My phone buzzes. A text from my mom. Sweetheart, what do you want to eat this weekend? Dad says he'll make you his famous grilled shrimp. A warmth spreads through my chest. I want everything Dad makes. I text back, adding a smiley face. The weather forecast calls for a high of 102 degrees. Standing outside my office building, I look up at the blinding glare reflecting off the glass facade and feel the spare AC remote in my bag. Last time, on a day just like this, the office remote vanished. I nearly got heatstroke while Haley smirked and said, "It's all mind over matter. You wouldn't be so hot if you weren't so agitated." Someone later found the remote in the break room freezer, encased in a block of ice. The elevator is packed, a humid mix of sweat and cologne. I get to the office 20 minutes early. It's deserted, just as I expected. I walk quickly to the central AC unit, pull out my spare remote, and set a timer. Auto off at 10 a.m. Auto on at 12 p.m. The timing is perfect. It's long enough for everyone to feel the sweltering heat, but not so long that it causes a full-blown mutiny. More importantly, it coincides with Mark's weekly inspection tour. I'm barely back at my desk when my coworkers start trickling in. Haley is wearing a breezy, light blue sundress, looking cool and fresh. She greets everyone with a smile, as if she hadn't spent last night in a bathroom stall. "Sarah, you don't look so good," she says, pausing at my desk with fake concern. "Didn't sleep well?" "Slept great," I reply, looking up at her. "Had a wonderful dream, in which you were hospitalized, and I sent a wreath to your funeral." Her smile twitches. "Well, good. By the way, Mark said he wants to see the preliminary proposal for the Vera project today. Are you ready?" "Of course." I pat my computer. Finished it up last night. In reality, I came in at 4 a.m. this morning to create a new version, one far more comprehensive than Haley would ever expect. Last time, she stole my ideas for this project and deliberately fudged the key data, getting me chewed out by Mark in front of the whole department. The morning passes quietly. At 9:55, I glance at the clock and discreetly slip the spare remote into my sleeve. At 10 o'clock sharp, the AC unit beeps and goes silent. A few seconds later, someone complains, "Hey, did the AC just die? Where's the remote? Anyone see the remote?" Kevin asks, wiping sweat from his forehead. Everyone shakes their heads. The temperature in the glass-walled office starts to climb rapidly, turning the space into a greenhouse. At 10:20, Mark arrives for his walkthrough, impeccably dressed in a suit. He frowns, dabbing his brow with a handkerchief. "Why is it so hot in here? Is the AC broken? The remote's missing," someone calls out. "Well, find it. How are we supposed to work in this heat?" Mark says impatiently. His eyes scan the room and land on me. "Sarah, go down to facilities and ask if they have a spare." The old me would have dutifully run down to the maintenance office, only to be told they didn't have one. By the time I returned, everyone would be miserable and irritable, and Haley would use the opportunity to snipe about how I can't even handle a simple task. "No need to go to facilities," I say calmly, pulling the spare remote from my sleeve. "I happen to have one right here." The entire office stares at me in stunned silence. I calmly press the power button. The AC whirs back to life, and a blessed wave of cool air washes over the room. "How do you have a spare remote?" Haley demands, her eyes wide. "The batteries in the old one died last week, so I got a spare from facilities," I say, looking directly at her. "Is that strange? Or perhaps, you know where the original one is?" Her expression freezes. "How would I know?" "Really?" I walk over to the break room fridge. "Then let's see what's in the freezer, shall we?" "What are you doing?" Haley tries to block me, but I've already opened the freezer door and am digging the frosted-over remote out from behind a bag of ice. A collective gasp ripples through the office. Kevin lets out a low whistle. Who would do something that messed up? I hold up the damp, ice-cold remote and turn to Haley. "Care to explain?" Her face flushes red, then drains of color, and then her eyes well up. I was just playing a joke. I didn't think." "A joke?" I say with a cold laugh. "Hiding the remote in a freezer and letting the entire office bake in a 100-degree heat wave. That's your idea of a joke?" "Haley didn't mean any harm," Mark suddenly interjects, frowning at me. "Sarah, You're overreacting. Overreacting. I turn to him. What if one of our colleagues with a heart condition or high blood pressure had a medical emergency because of the heat? Would that still be just a joke? Mark's face darkens. As long as no serious harm was done, it's not a big deal. It's normal for coworkers to joke around. If you're this uptight, it's no wonder you can't fit in with the team. A few coworkers exchange glances. I notice some of them nodding in agreement with Mark. That's the way it is in the corporate world. Most people choose self-preservation, sometimes even siding with the bully. I see, I say, putting the remote down. So in your eyes, Director Linden, intentionally damaging company property and endangering your employees' health is just a joke. I guess I should learn to make more jokes like that. Mark's expression sours. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I say with a sweet smile. Just a joke. The air in the office is thick with tension. Even the cold air from the AC can't dispel the awkwardness. All right, everyone back to work, Mark says, waving his hand dismissively. He shoots me a warning glare before turning away. Haley follows him into his office, making sure to give me a smug look before she closes the door. I return to my desk, my heart pounding. I may not have won this confrontation outright, but at least some of my coworkers saw Haley's true colors. More importantly, I confirmed that Mark is actively covering for her. At lunchtime, I go up to the company's rooftop terrace. It's a secluded spot, my old hiding place from Haley's torment. Here, the voice behind me makes me jump. I turn to see Ethan, holding out an iced coffee. Thanks. I take it, my fingers brushing against his. Even in this sweltering heat, his skin feels cool. He leans against the railing, silently sipping his own coffee. We stand there side by side, the silence comfortable. You saw? I finally ask. Yep, he replies succinctly. The camera caught it all. I turn to look at him. Haley hiding the remote in the freezer? 4:17 m. He says, adjusting his glasses. She thought no one was around. My fists clench. Why is Mark so protective of her? Ethan is quiet for a moment. Some things are safer not knowing. I'm already not safe, I say with a bitter laugh. I haven't been since the day she put salt in my candy. He turns to look at me, his eyes sharp behind his glasses. How were you so sure it was her? The first time. My heart skips a beat. A hunch, I say lightly, and I was right, wasn't I? He doesn't press the issue, just nods. Be careful. Mark Linden is more than just a department head. What do you mean? His brother-in-law is a VP at the company, Ethan says, finishing his coffee. That's why his department is exempt from regular audits. The information hits me like a lightning bolt. Why are you telling me all this? I ask, looking him straight in the eye. Ethan stares out at the city skyline. Like I said, I hate bullies. He pauses, then adds, especially bullies with powerful friends. He leaves, and I'm alone again on the rooftop. I lean over the railing, looking down at the city sprawling below. When I get back to the office, the atmosphere has changed. A few coworkers who are usually friendly avoid my gaze. Haley's little clique points and whispers when they think I'm not looking, their snickers deliberately audible. A message from Kevin pops up on my screen. Be careful. Haley's telling everyone you're unstable and that you're harassing her. I reply, thanks. Did she happen to mention why I'm supposedly unstable? Kevin's response nearly makes me drop my phone. She's saying you have a crush on Mark and you're jealous of how close he and Haley are. It's a viciously clever move. Not only does it paint me as the villain, it casts me as a scorned, hysterical woman. I look over at Haley's desk. She's leaning in close to Mark, whispering something to him. Just before the end of the day, Mark calls a sudden department meeting to announce a change in the Vera project workflow. Given the importance of this project, I've decided to personally oversee Team A, he says, his gaze sweeping the conference room and lingering on me for a moment. Sarah will be responsible for the market data analysis. Haley will handle client communications and the final presentation. My fists clench under the table. This means Haley will be the one presenting my work, taking all the credit, just like last time. Worse, client communications is the easiest place to sabotage things. She could deliberately misrepresent their feedback, making my analysis seem completely off base. Any questions? Mark asks, his gaze challenging me. None, I reply calmly, as long as the division of labor and responsibilities are clear. After the meeting, I deliberately hang back. As I expected, I overhear Haley and Mark talking in the hallway just outside. She was completely out of line today. Haley says, her voice thick with fake tears. Don't worry. She won't be a problem for much longer. Mark's voice is a low, intimate murmur. Once the project is done, I'll give her the lowest possible performance review. She'll be optimized, out of a job in no time. But I can't wait that long. She humiliated me in front of everyone today. Patience. Baby, if we make a move on her now, it'll be too obvious. Footsteps approach, and I quickly duck into the nearby copy room. Through the frosted glass, I watch Mark pull Haley close, his hands sliding down her back in a way that is anything but professional as they walk toward the elevator. I snap a blurry, but still recognizable, photo with my phone. My heart is racing. Ethan was right. Mark isn't just a department head, and Haley is definitely not just his subordinate. Back home, I add the day's new evidence to my collection. The security footage of the remote incident, the audio recording of Mark and Haley's conversation, the email documenting the change in project roles. Each piece is dated and filed, creating an increasingly damning timeline. My phone buzzes. It's my mom. Honey, your dad bought a ton of shrimp. He's all set for you this weekend. I'll definitely be there. I text back, adding, how's Dad's blood pressure lately? A little high, but he's taking his meds. Don't you worry. I put my phone down and open my laptop, searching for Robert Evans, Vice President. The first result is the company's executive bio page. Robert Evans, VP of Human Resources and Finance. The man in the photo is in his 50s and bears a striking resemblance to Mark Linden. Of course, no wonder a mid-level director felt so untouchable. I pull up the company directory and copy the VP's email address. It's not time to play that card yet, but I need to be ready. 2 hours before the Vera project presentation, I double-check the file on my USB drive. Last time, on this very day, Haley secretly altered the key data points in my PowerPoint, causing me to be humiliated in front of the entire executive team. It nearly cost me my job. Sarah, is your part ready? Haley appears at my desk, her smile so sweet it's nauseating. All set, I say, patting the USB drive in my pocket. I have 3 backups. A flicker of annoyance crosses her face, but she covers it with a laugh. Perfect. I just got a notification. They've moved the meeting to the main conference room. We'll need the big projector. Can you send me the file? I'll go set everything up early. Here it comes. The exact same play as last time. I pretend to think for a moment. Oh, don't worry about it. I can go set it up myself. I can't let you do that. Her voice gets a little too loud, and she quickly lowers it. I mean, Mark put me in charge of the logistics. It's part of my job. I calmly pull a sealed manila envelope from my drawer. Well, in that case, this is a hard copy of the final presentation. Could you take this to the conference room and put one at each of the board members' seats? Haley freezes, clearly not expecting this move. She hesitantly takes the envelope. A hard copy? Of course. It looks more professional. I say with a smile. Vera is an old-school company. They appreciate things like that. I'll bring the digital version myself. Her fingers grip the envelope so tightly her knuckles turn white. She forces a smile and leaves. I know she's probably in the restroom right now, tearing it open to see my presentation. Too bad for her. The envelope only contains the project background. I left out all the core data and strategic analysis. Half an hour before the presentation, I arrive at the conference room. Haley is anxiously fiddling with the projector. She looks startled when I walk in. Is the equipment ready? I ask nonchalantly. All set, she says, pointing to a laptop already connected to the projector. Just copy your file over. I glance at my watch. It's still early. I can do it once the execs get here. Her eyes dart around nervously. What if there's a technical issue? It's better to be prepared. Good point. I nod, plugging in my USB drive. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Haley leaning in, trying to get a look at my screen. I deliberately click on the wrong folder, opening a series of unrelated vacation photos. That's not it, is it? She can't help but ask. Oops, wrong one. I close the photos and navigate to the correct PowerPoint file, but I don't open it. Haley, could you grab me a glass of water? I'm a little nervous. She bites her lip, then hurries out of the room. The second she's gone, I pull out my USB drive and plug in an identical-looking one. I copy the real presentation to the laptop, then quickly put the computer to sleep. When Haley returns with the water, I'm casually scrolling through my phone. File copied? She asks eagerly. Yep, all set. I say, taking the glass. pretending not to notice her frantic glance at the sleeping laptop. The executives start to file in. Mark Linden walks in, looking sharp in his suit, and gives Haley a subtle nod. I take a sip of water, hiding the smirk on my face. After the executives from the Vera group are seated, the presentation begins. Haley, as the client communications lead, speaks first. Her presentation is vague and full of corporate jargon. The execs nod politely, but they're clearly bored. Next, we'll hear from our market analysis lead, Sarah Miller. Mark announces. I can see the gleam of anticipation in his eyes. He's waiting for me to crash and burn. I stand up, walk to the laptop, wake the screen, and click open the PowerPoint. My meticulously prepared presentation fills the large screen. Complete data analysis, clear market positioning, and a feasible marketing strategy. Mark's face freezes. Haley's turns ghost white as she stares at the screen in disbelief. Based on our research, the Vera Group has a potential 30% market share increase in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. I explain smoothly, citing specific data points. The Vera Group's director of marketing is nodding enthusiastically, even taking a few pictures of the slides with his phone. This is the complete opposite of what happened last time, when I was questioned and humiliated for inaccurate data. Ms. Miller, your analysis is exceptionally professional, the Vera Group CEO says during the Q&A session. This differentiated competitive strategy is exactly what we've been looking for. Mark forces a tight smile. Sarah is indeed one of our department's top performers. After the meeting, the Vera executives personally came over to exchange business cards with me. Haley stood in the corner, her eyes shooting daggers. As soon as the last board member left, she stormed up to me. You played me, she hissed, her voice low and furious. I feigned confusion. What are you talking about? You? That file. It was. She was so angry she was sputtering. Oh, you mean the presentation? I said as if just realizing. I made some last-minute updates last night. I must have forgotten to tell you. Sorry about that. She ground her teeth. You think you've won? Just you wait. Mark walked over, frowning. What's going on? Nothing, Director, I said with a pleasant smile. Haley just had some different opinions about my presentation. He shot me a warning look before pulling Haley away. As I was packing up my things, I realized Ethan was standing at the conference room door. That was quite a performance, he said quietly, handing me another USB drive. You might need this. Back at my desk, I plugged it in. It was a security video from 3 a.m. that morning. It showed Haley sneaking into the office and tampering with my computer. Then, another clip from this morning, an hour before I arrived, showed her trying to alter the files on my USB drive. My fists clenched. I had expected it, but seeing the proof still filled me with rage. What had I ever done to her to deserve this relentless, calculated sabotage? My phone vibrated. A text from my mom. Sarah, your dad had his checkup today. The doctor said his blood pressure is under control. It's safe for you to come home this weekend. That's great. I'll head out first thing Saturday morning. I replied quickly, adding, tell Dad not to overdo it. I'll cook when I get there. Putting my phone down, I noticed Haley's desk was empty. I could hear her laughing with a few coworkers in the break room. I picked up my mug and walked over, pausing at the door to listen. She acts so professional, but she probably just copied that whole proposal from the internet. Haley was saying, spinning her lies. I saw her sneaking around the office late last night. Who knows what she was up to? I strode into the break room. The conversation died instantly. I calmly refilled my mug, then pulled a small vial from my pocket and added a few colorless drops to Haley's cup. What are you doing? She shrieked, jumping back. Vitamin drops, I said, shaking the vial. You've been looking a little run down lately. Thought you could use a boost. I don't want anything from you. She grabbed her mug, about to dump it in the sink. Suit yourself? I shrugged. It's imported, though. $100 a bottle. Hearing the price, she paused. The other co-workers eyed the elegant little vial with curiosity. For real? One of them asked. Of course. I lied smoothly. It's got ginseng extract and rare berry antioxidants. Great for your skin. Haley eyed her mug suspiciously. In the end, she didn't dump it, but she didn't drink it either. Just carried it nervously back to her desk. I suppressed a smile. It was just plain vitamin water with a few drops of lemon juice. But I knew her paranoid mind would be racing all day. That afternoon, an urgent email summoned all department heads to a meeting. Mark left in a hurry, a sour look on his face. The office was buzzing with rumors. I overheard words like audit and investigation. Ethan happened to walk by my desk and accidentally dropped a pen. As he bent down to pick it up, he whispered, "Finance found someone's been embezzling funds. A significant amount. Is it related to our department?" "Not clear yet," he said, straightening up quickly. "But someone's been accessing Mark's office at odd hours." After he left, I sat there, thinking, did something like this happen in my past life after I died? Was there more than just an affair between Haley and Mark? Was money involved? I was the last one to leave the office that day. As I passed Haley's desk, I noticed her drawer was slightly ajar. I saw the corner of a familiar package, the same brand of sunscreen she'd laced with itching powder. It seemed she hadn't given up on that little trick. Using a tissue to cover my hand, I quietly pulled the drawer open. Inside wasn't just the sunscreen, but several small paper packets, crudely labeled, fast-acting and extra strength. I quickly snapped a photo of the evidence with my phone and gently closed the drawer. What were these powders? Laxatives? Or something more dangerous? In my past life, I had only experienced her pranks. But what if she was capable of something far worse? I heard footsteps in the hallway and quickly returned to my desk, pretending to organize my things. Haley and Mark walked in together, whispering to each other, their faces tense. "I don't know who reported it, but the audit team is coming tomorrow," Mark said, his voice hushed. "Could it be her?" Haley asked, gesturing in my direction. I pretended not to hear, focusing on my desk. "Impossible. She doesn't have that kind of access," Mark scoffed. "Not unless someone in IT is helping her." My heart pounded. Were they talking about me? And what role was Ethan playing in all of this? "Sarah," Mark suddenly said, his voice loud. "Still here." "Just leaving," I said, grabbing my bag. I gave them a polite nod as I passed. The moment the elevator doors closed, I saw Mark pull Haley into his office and shut the door. Back home, I added the day's new findings to my evidence folder. The video of Haley trying to alter my files, the photo of the suspicious powders in her desk, and the information from Ethan about the financial investigation. The puzzle pieces were starting to come together, but the full picture was still a mystery. My phone lit up with a text from Ethan. "Don't be late tomorrow. The auditors arrive at 9. They'll be sweeping the office beforehand." I stared at the message. Why was he helping me? How much did he know? And most importantly, could I trust him? I typed a simple thanks and turned off my bedside lamp. The moonlight streamed through the window. Tomorrow was going to be a critical day. The moment I walked into the office Monday morning, I felt the shift. Coworkers who usually said hello avoided my eyes. As I passed a group, their conversation dropped to a whisper. A message from Kevin popped up. "Haley's telling everyone you went through her private files and threatened her. The whole department is saying you're unstable." I gripped my phone. The classic bully tactic. Accuse the victim of what you're doing. She'd used this one last time, too. Back then, I just tried to defend myself, which only made me look guiltier. "Thanks for the heads up," I replied. "Did she happen to say why I'm supposedly unstable?" Kevin's reply made me laugh coldly. "She said you have a crush on Mark and you're taking it out on her because you're jealous." I looked over at Haley's desk. She was huddled with a group of coworkers, whispering behind her hand, her eyes flicking toward me. When I met her gaze, she flinched dramatically, as if she were terrified, prompting worried looks from the people around her. It was a pathetic performance, but an effective one. I walked straight toward the copy machine, deliberately passing their group. The chatter stopped. "Morning, everyone," I said with a smile, my eyes landing on Haley. "You're looking well today, Haley. Did you have a good weekend?" She was so surprised by my calm demeanor that she was momentarily speechless. "It was fine. Good," I said meaningfully. "I was worried you might be stressed. What with the auditors showing up unexpectedly on Friday." The color drained from her face. The coworkers around her exchanged confused looks. "What auditors?" someone asked. I feigned surprise. "Oh, you didn't hear? The company is investigating some financial irregularities." I looked pointedly at Haley. "I heard several departments are involved." I turned and walked away, leaving a cloud of whispers in my wake. Let the rumors fly. During lunch, when the office was mostly empty, I made my move. I confirmed that Haley and Mark were both out, then walked over to her desk. Her computer was password protected, but that wasn't a problem. After one of her pranks in my past life, she'd smugly typed her password in front of me, bragging that only an idiot would use their birthday as a password. I typed in her birthday. The screen unlocked. Amid the mess of icons on her desktop, a folder named Pet Videos caught my eye. My gut told me something was wrong. I clicked it open and nearly threw up. It was filled with dozens of videos of animal cruelty. Some were clearly filmed by her. I could see her hands torturing small cats and dogs, her signature giggle audible in the background. My own hands started to shake. I had known she was a bully, but I never imagined she was this psychologically twisted. No wonder her jokes had grown so cruel. I quickly copied the videos to a USB drive and kept searching. Another encrypted folder was labeled Game Log. The password hint was My Happy Place. I tried a few combinations with no luck. I was about to give up when I noticed her desk calendar. Several dates were circled. All days when colleagues had called in sick or suddenly quit. On a hunch, I typed happy understanding. The folder opened. Inside was a detailed Excel spreadsheet, a log of every prank she'd ever pulled. It listed the date, the method, the victim's reaction, and even a star rating and suggestions for improvement. My name was at the top of the list. The detail was chilling. The latest entry was from yesterday. Plan A failed, vitamin water untouched. Preparing Plan B, the company hike. This time, she'll end up in the hospital for a few days. Rating, TBD. A hike? Was the company planning an outing? I was about to investigate further when I heard footsteps. I quickly closed the folder, locked the screen, and was back at my desk just as Haley walked in. She shot me a suspicious look, then glanced at her computer. Were you touching my computer? Why would I touch your computer? I retorted. Got something to hide? Her face paled. She rushed to her desk and started checking her machine. I pretended to be absorbed in my work, but I saw the flicker of relief on her face when she found nothing amiss. Just before quitting time, a company-wide email went out. This Friday, we will be holding a team-building hike at Pine Ridge Forest Preserve. Attendance is mandatory. My blood ran cold. Pine Ridge, the place where I'd collapsed from heatstroke in my past life. The date was only 3 days off. This was no coincidence. Scared, Haley's voice came from behind me. I turned. She was leaning against the doorframe of the empty break room, a cat-and-mouse smile on her face. I don't know what you're talking about, I said, forcing myself to stay calm. Pine Ridge, she said, walking in and locking the door behind her. I hear the scenery is beautiful, but it gets really hot in the summer. It's easy to get heatstroke. I looked her straight in the eye. I'm not falling for it this time. Falling for what? She blinked innocently. It's just a fun day out with coworkers. She leaned in closer, her voice sickly sweet. But I'd recommend you bring lots of water and glucose tablets. Oh, and sunscreen. I grabbed her wrist. I know what's on your computer. The videos. The log. It's enough to put you in jail. Her pupils contracted, but she quickly recovered, laughing. It was just a joke. You didn't actually believe that, did you? I downloaded those from the internet. You can't prove anything, including the ones you filmed yourself? I sneered. And the detailed log of every person you've tormented? You think the police will see that as a joke? Her smile finally vanished. What do you want? It's simple, I said, releasing her. Stop everything. Stay away from me, or this evidence goes straight to the executive board and the police. She rubbed her wrist, a look of pure malice I'd never seen before flashing in her eyes. Fine, I promise. No more pranks. She turned and unlocked the door, but paused before leaving. But Sarah, have you ever considered that if I was as bad as you say I am, I wouldn't give up this easily? The door clicked shut. I stood there, a sudden, bone-deep chill running down my spine. The day of the hike, the weather service issued an excessive heat warning. I was awake at 4 a.m., checking and rechecking my backpack. 4 bottles of sports drinks, 6 packets of glucose gel, 2 boxes of electrolyte powder, cooling towels, a portable fan, and a full first aid kit. Last time, I'd brought only a single bottle of water and a few candies, both of which Haley had accidentally knocked out of my hands. My phone vibrated. A text from Ethan. I'll be late today. Keep your phone on. I frowned. He hadn't even attended the hike last time, claiming a family emergency. Why was he giving me a heads up now? The company bus left at 7 a.m. I chose a seat near the front for a clear view of everyone. Haley was the last to board, dressed in a flimsy sundress and sandals, as if she were heading to the beach. She scanned the bus and deliberately chose a seat in the very back. Everyone buckle up, Mark announced from the front. It's about a 2-hour drive to Pine Ridge. Once we get there, we'll split into 4 teams for a scavenger hunt. The winning team gets a prize. A scavenger hunt? Last time it was just a free-for-all hike. My stomach tightened. This was a trap, custom made for me. Halfway there, Haley walked up the aisle to my seat. Sarah, can I borrow a bottle of water? I forgot to bring any. I looked at her outstretched hand. A perfect replay of the last time. She'd accidentally spilled my only bottle, then offered a fake apology. Go buy your own, I said coldly. She pouted. Stingy. Then she raised her voice. Sarah, you look really pale. Are you feeling okay? A few coworkers turned to look. I ignored her, closed my eyes, and pretended to sleep. When we arrived at Pine Ridge, a wave of oppressive heat hit me the moment I stepped off the bus. The small general store at the park entrance had a closed for renovation sign on the door. Listen up. Mark blew a whistle. The rules are simple. Each team gets a map. Find the 3 checkpoints to get your map stamped. The first team back wins. As he handed out the maps, I saw Haley lean in and whisper something to him. He gave a nearly imperceptible nod. Here are the team assignments, he said, reading from a sheet of paper. Team A, Kevin, Jessica. Team F, Sarah Miller, Haley Vance. I shot to my feet. Last time we were free to roam. Now we were being forced into teams, and a team of just the 2 of us. Haley skipped over, all smiles. What a coincidence, Sarah. We're a team. It's not a coincidence, I said, looking straight at Mark. I want to switch teams. Teams were assigned randomly. No changes, Mark said dismissively, waving his hand. Don't hold everyone up. The other teams were already heading out. Haley dangled the map in front of me. Let's go, Sarah. Let's try to win this thing. The map showed we were to take the West Trail, hit 3 checkpoints, and return. I studied the route and saw that a long stretch of it was an exposed, sun-beaten path, the exact spot where I had collapsed before. This way is a shortcut, Haley said soon after we started, pointing to a fork in the trail. That path isn't on the map, I said, standing my ground. It's a local secret, she said, grabbing my arm enthusiastically. I came here last year. It'll save us half an hour. I yanked my arm away. You can go that way if you want. I'm sticking to the map. Her smile froze. What's that supposed to mean? You don't trust me? That's right. I don't trust you, I said bluntly. Who knows where that path leads? Her face darkened. Fine. Suit yourself, she snapped, before stomping off down the official trail. I followed a safe distance behind, periodically sipping my sports drink. We found the first checkpoint without any issue, but as we approached the second, things started to go wrong. Huh? The map says we go straight here, Haley said, standing at another fork in the path, looking confused. I looked over her shoulder. The map did indeed show a straight path, but the trail clearly veered to the left. She'd pulled the same trick last time, leading me down the wrong path. You wait here, I'll go scout ahead, she offered. No, we'll go together. I wasn't letting her out of my sight. We ended up taking the left turn. After 10 minutes, the path grew narrower, the woods thicker. I stopped. This isn't right. This isn't the way to the checkpoint. Oh, oops. I guess we took a wrong turn, Haley said, completely unapologetic. Maybe we should go back. I checked my phone. No signal. The temperature was soaring, and I was already halfway through my water supply. This was where she'd stalled for time before, waiting for my blood sugar to drop. We keep going forward, I said, deciding to reverse her strategy. We'll eventually loop back around. She looked stunned. But there might not be a path up ahead. Then you can follow me back the way we came. I turned to head back. Wait, she said, quickly stopping me. Actually, I know there's a gazebo nearby. Why don't we rest for a bit? You don't look so good. I was starting to feel dizzy, but not from weakness. It was the chilling familiarity of the situation. I fought down the panic and squeezed a glucose gel into my mouth. No thanks. Let's keep moving. After another half hour, we were completely lost. The sun was beating down, and I'd used most of my sunscreen. Haley looked tired too, but her eyes held a strange, triumphant gleam. Sarah, are you okay? She asked with fake concern. Your face is really red. I was feeling the heat, but I was in much better shape than last time. My preparations would at least let me last a few more hours. We need to signal for help, I said, pulling out a whistle. Don't bother. No one can hear you out here. Her tone suddenly shifted, her smile turning into a vicious sneer. Honestly, Sarah, I'm curious to see how long you last today. I stopped blowing the whistle and stared at her. So you're finally done pretending? Pretending what? She said with a tilt of her head. It's your own fault you're out of shape. Has nothing to do with me. She pulled out her phone. Here, smile for the camera. I'm going to post this on Instagram. Bestie is so out of shape she can't even walk. LMAO. I smacked the phone out of her hand. Enough. I know you led me down the wrong path on purpose. Just like last time. Last time. She blinked, then burst out laughing. Oh my God. You really have lost your mind. I realized my slip, but it was too late. She looked at me like she'd just discovered gold. I'm going to tell the whole company you're crazy. Who's going to believe a lunatic? Just then, I heard a faint whistle in the distance. Haley's face changed. Who's that? Sarah. A man's voice called out. It was Ethan. How did he find us? Haley quickly snatched her phone off the ground. We're over here. Help. Sarah fainted. She shrieked. I stared, dumbfounded, as she instantly transformed into a panicked, helpless victim. Footsteps crunched closer, and Ethan appeared at the end of the path, flanked by 2 park rangers. What happened here? One of the rangers asked. My friend has heat stroke. Haley cried, her voice choked with fake sobs. She just started talking nonsense, saying things about past lives. Ethan strode over to me and handed me a bottle of ice-cold water. Drink this. I took it gratefully, noticing he was wearing a professional-looking first-aid backpack. You two are way off the designated trail, a ranger said with a frown. This is dangerous. It's my fault. Haley immediately confessed. I tried to take a shortcut and got us lost. Sarah's not feeling well. We need to get her to a hospital. She was putting on a show, but I did need to rest. Led by the rangers, we were back on the main path in no time. Haley fussed over me the whole way, her performance worthy of an Oscar. Back at the starting point, Mark rushed up to us. Where have you been? The other teams finished an hour ago. Sarah got heat stroke, Haley said, her face a mask of concern. She almost passed out on the trail, and she was saying the strangest things. Mark looked at me, a calculating glint in his eye. Is it that serious? Should we take you to the ER? No need, I said, standing up straight. I'm fine, just a little dehydrated. But you were just saying, Haley started. But Ethan cut her off. I'll drive her back to rest, he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. The company bus already left. I drove my own car. Mark looked like he wanted to object, but the ranger also advised me to get out of the heat, so he had to relent. Ethan's car was a black SUV with the AC blasting. The moment I got in, I collapsed into the seat, shivering. It's over, he said simply, handing me an ice-cold towel. Put this on your neck. We drove for a while before I finally recovered enough to speak. Thank you. How did you find us? GPS, he said, nodding toward my phone. I installed a tracking app on it yesterday, just in case. I stared at him, shocked. You? Why? Because I knew what she was planning, he said calmly. I checked her search history. Her top queries were, how to create the perfect accident, and symptoms of lethal heat stroke. A chill ran through me. She wanted to kill me? I wasn't sure, Ethan said, glancing at me. But she has a pathological obsession with hurting you. What was that you said about a past life? I was silent. Who would believe a story about being reborn? It's okay. You don't have to talk about it, he said, surprisingly not pressing the issue. The important thing is, you're safe now. No, I'm not. I shook my head. As long as she's at the company, she'll keep trying to hurt people. A small smile touched Ethan's lips. Then let's get her out of the company. He handed me a USB drive. This contains proof that she's been embezzling company funds, along with high-definition videos of her and Mark. It's more than enough to get them both fired. I took the drive, my heart pounding. This was the final piece of the puzzle. Why are you helping me? I asked the question again. This time, he gave me the full answer. Because of my sister. She had a coworker just like Haley when she started her first job. She wasn't as strong as you. She ended up committing suicide. His voice was flat, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I didn't know what to say. I just reached out and gently touched his arm. We drove the rest of the way back to the city in silence. When I got home, I opened the USB drive. The evidence was irrefutable. Forged expense reports, misappropriated project funds. Enough for felony charges. The videos clearly showed Haley and Mark's affair in the office, complete with conversations about how to cover up the financial fraud. The most chilling part was a folder labeled Game Upgrade. It contained a detailed plan for my ultimate prank, a step-by-step guide that mirrored my death in my past life, luring me to a remote location, stalling until I collapsed, then playing the innocent bystander. She wasn't playing pranks. She was planning a murder. Shaking, I organized all the evidence, backed it up to the cloud, and drafted a long email to the director of HR and the company CEO. I set it to send automatically. If I didn't cancel it by 3 p.m., the next day it would go out. With that done, I collapsed onto my bed, utterly exhausted. The final stage of my revenge was set, but I felt none of the satisfaction I expected. Outside, the sunset painted the sky in shades of blood. Tomorrow would be Haley's judgment day. The next morning, the office atmosphere was tense. The receptionist told me the director of HR wanted to see me. Haley and Mark hadn't shown up yet. In the HR director's office, a stern, middle-aged woman gestured for me to sit. Ms. Miller, we received an anonymous submission of some disturbing materials concerning you and your colleague Haley Vance. My heart hammered against my ribs. What kind of materials? Some videos and financial records, she said, adjusting her glasses. First and foremost, I need to confirm your safety. The materials suggest that Ms. Vance may pose a threat to you. So Ethan had already made his move. I took a deep breath. Yes, for the past few months, Haley has been using pranks to physically and psychologically harm me, from swapping my medication to deliberately getting me lost during yesterday's team-building event. Do you have any proof of these incidents? I took out my phone and played the videos and showed her the log I'd copied from Haley's computer. The HR director's face grew darker with every passing second. This goes far beyond workplace bullying, she said grimly. We need to immediately. The door was thrown open and Mark Linden stormed in. Director Lee, I hear you're investigating my department? He saw me and his eyes narrowed into a sneer. You again? What are you stirring up now? Director Linden, please control yourself, the HR director said, standing up. We are addressing a serious incident of workplace violence. That's ridiculous. Mark slammed his hand on the desk. Haley is the sweetest girl. Everyone in the company loves her. It's Sarah here who's unstable. She's been harassing Haley for months. Is that so? I calmly produced the USB drive. Then perhaps you should watch this. The HR director plugged it into her computer. The video of Haley and Mark in his office filled the screen, their incriminating conversation about embezzling funds playing clearly from the speakers. The color drained from Mark's face. That's a deep fake. It's fabricated, he stammered. Our IT department can verify its authenticity, the HR director said coldly. Director Linden, you are suspended, effective immediately, pending a full investigation. As for Haley Vance, she called in sick today, Mark said abruptly. I exchanged a look with the HR director. My gut told me Haley wouldn't go down this easily. When I returned to my desk, everyone was staring at me. Kevin discreetly messaged me that news of Mark's suspension was already spreading. At noon, I received a text from an unknown number. Want to see your parents again? Then don't make a sound. 352 Oak Street, apartment 502. Right? My blood ran cold. Mom and Dad. I immediately called their landline. No answer. I tried my mom's cell. It went straight to voicemail. I grabbed my bag and bolted, nearly running into Ethan at the elevator bank. What's wrong? He asked, grabbing my trembling shoulders. Haley, my parents. I shoved the phone in his face, unable to form a coherent sentence. His expression turned grim. I'll drive you. On the way, I kept trying to call my parents with no luck. Ethan ran 3 red lights, getting us to my parents' apartment complex in 20 minutes. Standing in front of apartment 502, I fumbled for my keys, only to find the door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open. The living room was in disarray. The coffee table was overturned. Teacups shattered on the floor. My dad's reading glasses lay on the rug, broken in half. Dad! Mom! I screamed, searching every room. They were gone. Ethan did a quick sweep. No signs of a struggle. They probably left in a hurry. Look at this. He pointed to the lock. It wasn't forced. That means they opened the door for whoever did this. The word, whoever, hit me like a physical blow. The image of my parents' grief after my death in my past life flashed through my mind. If my quest for revenge had put them in danger. My phone rang. A video call from an unknown number. I answered. Haley's face filled the screen. She was in what looked like an abandoned warehouse. Sarah, want to see your dear mommy and daddy? she asked sweetly, then flipped the camera. My parents were tied to chairs, their mouths covered with duct tape, their eyes wide with terror. You're insane, I screamed. Let them go. Don't be so dramatic. I just invited them over for a little visit. She giggled. After all, we've been friends for so long, and I've never even met your parents. What do you want? I forced myself to stay calm. Simple. 1. You drop all the allegations against me. 2. You make a public statement admitting you fabricated the evidence to frame me and Mark. And 3. Her smile widened. You quit your job and leave this city. Immediately. Ethan stood behind me and squeezed my shoulder gently. I understood his signal. Stall for time. I need to think about it, I said, my voice shaking. You have 10 minutes, she said. And don't even think about calling the cops, or else. She produced a paring knife and held it up to my mother's cheek. The video call ended. I collapsed onto the sofa, tears blurring my vision. I've got her location, Ethan said suddenly. The signal is coming from the abandoned chemical plant east of the city. The police will be there in 5 minutes. I stared at him. When did you call them? The second I saw the text, he said, checking his phone. I have a friend on the SWAT team. They know it's a hostage situation. We raced to the chemical plant. By the time we arrived, the place was surrounded by police cars. An officer informed us that my parents were safe. The suspect had tried to flee, fell from a catwalk, and was seriously injured. I found my parents by an ambulance, shaken but unharmed. My mom hugged me and sobbed while my dad kept asking who that crazy girl was. It's over now. It's all over, I whispered, tears streaming down my own face. An officer took my statement. I told them everything, including the long history of Haley's abuse. Ethan provided the key video evidence from the USB drive. She'll be facing multiple felony charges. Kidnapping, extortion, assault, the officer told us. Combined with the financial crimes, she's going away for a long time. It was dark by the time we left the police station. I took my parents home, promising to move back in for a while. Ethan stayed with us until they were settled. As he was leaving, my dad shook his hand, thanking him profusely. See you at work tomorrow, he said to me with a nod. Back at my own apartment, I canceled the scheduled email, but I sent a new one, attaching all the evidence and sending it directly to the police and the company's executive board. When it was all done, I fell into bed, exhausted but unable to sleep. The person who had killed me had finally been brought to justice, but my heart felt hollow. The thrill of revenge was fleeting, leaving only a deep weariness. And relief. Yes, relief, because I knew that from now on, Haley Vance would never harm another innocent person again. Outside, a new moon was rising. The long nightmare was finally over. The news of Haley's kidnapping plot sent shockwaves through the company. The police investigation uncovered even more. The animal abuse videos on her computer, the detailed logs of her torment, the evidence of embezzlement, and even search queries for how to commit murder without getting caught. Mark Linden was implicated as a co-conspirator in the financial fraud, and his powerful brother-in-law, the VP, was also placed under investigation. The entire management structure was shaken up. As the official whistleblower, I was placed under company protection, and HR arranged for counseling. For providing the critical evidence, Ethan was promoted to Director of Information Security. A month later, at an all-hands meeting, the new CEO publicly announced the termination of Haley Vance and Mark Linden, stating that the company was pursuing all available legal action against them. The announcement was met with a round of applause. Furthermore, the company is establishing a new anti-bullying task force, reporting directly to HR. The CEO said sternly, and I want to personally thank Sarah Miller for her courage. If she had not come forward, this cancer might still be poisoning our team. After the meeting, my coworkers flocked to me, offering support and apologies. Kevin even bowed his head, saying he was sorry for ever doubting me. I accepted their words calmly, knowing that most of them were simply following the new tide. At the end of the day, Ethan was waiting for me by the elevators. I heard Haley's sentencing was today. I nodded. The D told me that on top of kidnapping and extortion, she was convicted of animal cruelty and embezzlement. She got 7 years minimum. Mark was also facing prison time for his role in the fraud. Did you go to the hearing? I asked. For a little while, he said, adjusting his glasses. When she saw me in the gallery, she looked at me like she wanted to kill me. We walked out of the building together. The evening sun stretched our shadows long across the pavement. Do you regret it? He asked suddenly. I thought for a moment. No, But if I could do it again, I would have spoken up sooner, before she had the chance to threaten my family. He nodded thoughtfully. Sometimes I wonder if my sister had met someone like you. You did a lot for her, I said quietly, and you saved my parents. Thank you. We helped each other, he said with a rare smile. If it weren't for you, that cancer, as the CEO put it, would still be here. We parted ways at the crosswalk. On my way home, I passed a pet shelter and was suddenly reminded of the horrific videos on Haley's computer. I went inside. An hour later, I walked out with a golden retriever who had been rescued from an abusive owner. He was blind in one eye, the result of being stabbed with a sharp object. As I walked my new companion home, my phone chimed. It was a picture from my mom. She and my dad were sitting on their newly redecorated balcony, sipping tea, their faces bright with laughter. The light turned green, and I crossed the street, the dog's leash held firmly in my hand. A warm breeze, the last breath of summer, rustled the trees. Autumn was coming, and my new life was just beginning.